JP here. I'm out back pursuing my passion. I'm heading out for a solo trip. The 2020 paddling or canoeing season is slowly coming to an end. It's near the end of October, and depending on how now the season goes, it could end pretty soon. But anyhow, I decided to get out on a solo trip. All my trips this year have been with other people, and I finally kind of decided I needed to do a trip for myself. And I'm heading over to some crown land up near the Magnetawan River. I was there in the springtime with a friend, Bill, and it was really beautiful. There was multiple falls and rapids, and we had a great time. Now the thing is, there is a south branch that swings down and then connects back up to the main channel, and that's the part that I want to see. It's not a very long branch. It's probably I think it's about 3, maybe max 4 kilometers. Might not even be that. But however, it also has rapids and likely falls because there's hash marks across the river on the topo map. So I want to go see it. I want to see what little gems or secrets it holds. So it's not going to be a tough trip. At least I think it's not going to be tough. But more or less, it's just about me getting out, unwinding, having a good time, and just spending time out there on my own. So I'll tune you in once I get to the access point, and come along and join me. Straight ahead, you see all the dark gray clouds. You can see that they're pretty loaded with water, and that's what I'm heading towards. So by the time I get to my put-in, there's a good chance the rain might have started already, or it's going to start pretty soon. But we're transitioning from a sunny area to an overcast area. It wasn't long before I pulled into Harris Lake Road. The rain still hadn't started, and the colors, despite past peak, were still beautiful. Although I'd imagine with all the rain forecasted today, many of them would soon litter the forest floor. Okay, so I have just arrived at the access point. There's a lot of vehicles here, and I'm pretty sure they're hunters, not canoeists. And the kind of freaky thing at this time of year when you trip is to hear gunshots. So I've already heard like 2 or 3 shots already. And so it's a good thing that today I'm wearing bright colors. I've made the mistakes many times of tripping late in the season and wearing my typical black or browns or greens and things like that. So I've blended in. But through all these years, I've avoided the bullets. So that was that was actually pure luck. So today, now that I just got here, I could just see that it's starting to sprinkle now. There's a little light rain on the windshield. So I came prepared for the rain. And I mean, whether it's starting now, I mean, too bad it didn't wait a little longer. In fact, if I got here earlier, then I would have been able to unpack and get going when it was dry. But that's okay. I'm prepared. 2 things I have today. I have a hat that is totally waterproof. It's a fabric hat, but it's got a waterproof membrane, just like Gore-Tex, but it's not Gore-Tex. So I've got that, which covers up to my neck, down to my neck, so it'll keep the water off me. Secondly, more importantly, especially because of the travel that I'm anticipating tomorrow on the river, I'll be wearing a dry suit. I didn't even bother bringing any rain gear, so this will keep me totally dry and keep me from getting wet. Anyhow, I'm gonna get dressed, stop babbling on, get the canoe unloaded, and then we'll get started. Definitely not in the league of changing my outfit as fast as Superman, but you can bet I'm working on it. So this is going to be interesting. I've taken canoes off vehicles before on my Matrix, and the Subaru, this Forester, is taller and it's bigger, and the roof rack of course is higher, and I'm not a very tall guy, so this will be my first time taking this canoe off by myself. I need to help me get it on, and it's always easier with two people, so let's see how I manage trying to get this off on my own. Let's see how it goes. That wasn't so bad, and it was just a matter of getting it centered and then taking the weight off, and then that was a lot easier than I expected. But when I have to put it up, I'm sure it's going to be a lot harder. So another interesting thing to note, as I put my canoe down, if you notice, the water is surrounding the dock. So when we came here on Thanksgiving weekend, we could walk right up to the dock. It was totally dry, and the water was beyond the dock. You can see the water has already come up probably about, I would say, a good maybe 5-6 inches. So I can imagine that the falls, when I go to see them tomorrow, they're probably going to be pumping, and with the rain that's coming today, it's going to be even more. So the fall should be pretty spectacular. I don't know if you heard that. That was another gunshot. I mean, it's been going off like popcorn around here. Okay, let's get the rest of the gear. And of course, just as I was about to head out, this happens. I waited for a few minutes in the vehicle, and thankfully it passed. But rain or shine, it was time to go. Okay, so I am off. The rain has been kind of coming and going, so it actually just stopped right now, so which is nice. The rain does come in waves, it seems. Sometimes it's light and then sometimes it's hard, but hey, if there's moments of reprieve, I'm not going to complain. But at least it's not windy. It's actually pretty calm right now, and it's actually very warm. It's like when I left the car, it had dropped down to 15, but it was like 19 when I got here. It was really warm. I'm wearing the dry suit, really more for immersion and protection from the rain, but definitely not needed for warmth. In fact, I took off a sweater, a layer, so that I wouldn't overheat. So combined with the dry suit, one layer underneath, and the PFD is going to keep me warm enough. Otherwise, so far so good. It's nice to get out again. So that tree wasn't pulled up like that when we were here a couple weeks ago. It's freshly pulled off from the shoreline. I always wondered if that pulls off, if it sounds like a carpet being torn from the ground. When I paddled here a couple weeks ago, there was a lot more lily pads. As you can see, a lot of them are slightly underwater, and it's just because of the higher water levels. In fact, I can hear water trickle down from over there. I'm just gonna go check it out, which there was no water trickling at all when we passed through here last time. So definitely a lot of water has come in the form of precipitation, and it's starting to raise levels. It's weird, if you look right ahead of me, there's like mist, there's like a fog in the air, and it's just in this spot. I don't know what it is, but I saw it from the other side, and I decided to paddle over here to check out the trickling water over here as well as the mist. It's kind of mesmerizing. See that? What was once dry a couple weeks ago is now flowing. I looked at the map, and there's small little swampy, marshy areas up there, and of course with all the rain it got probably saturated, and now it's flowing down. I love the sound of this, it's so soothing. if you look far over there, you could see the Harris Lake Marina, and we came from down there. But I'm headed over this way. This is an island, and we're going to tuck in just around that corner, just beyond that point. Now there's a bunch of cottages here and all through here, as well as some tucked in over there as well too. But it's really nice at this time of year where everybody's pretty much closed up for the season. Thanksgiving long weekend is usually when people kind of close up their cottages for the year. And so when you come here, despite all the cottages right over here, it's totally silent, and it's like you're here by yourself. I mean, I can still hear a little bit of the highway, but once they turn around that bend, more of those trees will act as a cushion to the sound, and I'll have the whole place to myself, as well as silence. So it'll really be nice. I'm kind of shocked. I thought I'd be paddling in the rain, and once I parked the car and got out of the vehicle, to stop raining, and I shouldn't jinx it, but it hasn't rained since, and it's like totally calm. And in fact, you can see I took my hat off because I'm actually getting warm. It's a good thing I'm not paddling very vigorously, otherwise I'd overheat. But I don't have too much further to go. Probably what, maybe less than a kilometer, I think, or maybe about a kilometer, and then I'll get set up. But yeah, it's so nice paddling here, and it's so calm and so still. It has like a hazy look to the air, and almost just seems mystical. So even though it's pretty quiet now, it is a Friday, so I'd imagine over the weekend, starting probably tonight, there'll probably be a lot of hunters on their way here. So even though I've heard some gunshots further at the access point, I haven't actually heard any gunshots since I've left there. I imagine by tomorrow and Sunday, there'll be a lot more popping going around. I've been in this area in November, and yeah, I've heard gunshots all over the place. So it's a little unnerving. You just got to make sure that you do wear bright colors, which hopefully I'm bright enough between the red and the yellow. But yeah, it is risky. But you know what? The lure of coming canoeing at this time of the year, when there's nobody out other than the hunters, still alluring to me. So still.
It wasn't very long before I made the approach to the point where I would be camping for the night.
So here we are. The campsite that never happened. So as you can see here, all the branches that we cut off this fallen tree. And this is the open area that we were going to set the hot tent around. And you can see the limbs were cut off those trees. So what I got to do is, because I have a hammock, I have to figure out which two trees I'm going to strap the hammock off. I obviously don't need this flat spot. What I do have is I have two tarps, one for the hammock. The hammock actually doesn't need a tarp, but I always like putting a big tarp so I have a dry area to get out and change and that kind of stuff. Because there's going to be so much rain coming. Well, I think it's coming. I want to have a nice area that I could step out of and then have my chair and things like that. And I have another tarp, which I specifically brought so that I can have it over or near the fire. So I gotta find a place probably near the water where I can have a fire pit, and then I'll set that up there so that I can have a fire tonight, even if it's raining, and stay nice and warm. So I should get set up while it's not raining. So I just heard thunder. The rain, it did say in the forecast that there's a risk of thunderstorms. So which is kind of unusual late in the season, but I guess maybe because of this hot temperature. Anyhow, I am not going to stay in the area that we cleared because it's really not suitable. It was more for a tent. What I'm going to do is actually go closer to the water and get a nice view. So I'm going to set the tarp and the hammock right between these two trees. And I'll have a nice view of the water, and I'll be closer to the water. I'll probably try to set up a fire pit closer to the water. It just makes more sense than having it further in the back. Okay, let's get this set up before the rain comes. It's actually warm. So it's actually getting dark, and it stopped raining for a second, but it's starting up again. If you look over there, it's starting to get dark, but you can see a little bit of light over on that side because there's just a thick gray cover of clouds. And as you can see, it's starting to rain again. So I got the tarp set up. This one is going to be for my hammock. There's going to be a little bit of a breeze coming off the lake, which is not a problem. Like I said, this hammock, it's called the Chrysalis from Eureka. It actually has a full cover, so whether the wind comes in, it won't make any difference. My only thing is to try to keep a little bit of the rain from this area. But then mind you, if it rains with wind, I won't really have a dry area. Anyhow, this will be fine. I'm going to get the hammock set up in a few minutes, but I think I'm going to try to find an area where I can set up the fire tarp, where I'm going to have a fire later tonight. All right. Okay, it's raining. Well, it's actually starting to die down a bit. It was raining pretty hard for a few minutes, but just as it was getting dark, it just got lighter. So, crossing fingers that it's gonna peter out and stop raining. I have a feeling though, it's gonna be one of those days where there's gonna be a dark cloud coming over and it's going to dump rain, then it's going to lighten up, and then maybe even take a pause. So it's going to be rolling rainstorms the way it seems like it's going. So I can still hear thunder. But that's okay. I got my first tarp set up. We're dry here. I guyed out two more lines on either side because it was kind of flopping a bit with the wind. So now it's way more secure. But yeah, once it starts to peter out, I'll probably find another spot to set up next tarp. That'll be my fire tarp. But mind you, I guess right now I could set up the hammock between these two trees. But I don't want to do that right now because it'll take up space right now that I'm sitting here in the middle, nice and dry. Once I get the other tarp set up, then I can move some of the gear underneath there, and then I can set up the tarp and have all the space over here. But surprisingly, it is warm. I am like still sweating in here as I rush to put this tarp up. It's definitely not cold, but it's supposed to get cold. Anita texted me just before I left, and she said it's supposed to go down. I don't know if she said -3 or it's supposed to feel like -3, but it's supposed to get cold overnight. So this warm day is going to pass, and the next few days are going to be seasonal. It's going to be back to cold temps. So this dry suit will come in real handy tomorrow. Not so much for the rain, but to keep me dry, especially when I'm traveling the river. Man, it's getting brighter. Look at that. I like that. Okay, second tarp is set up. As you can see, it's just right above me. It's close to the water. And there's some rocks here. There's a big rock right here. And there might the base might extend all the way over here. I'm just going to check. But then I can have a nice fire right here with a nice view of the lake. And the tarp is right behind me, so I can have all my gear thrown over here. And then I'll set up the hammock right under the other tarp. So it's an orange type of tarp trip. That's just how it happened to be. Okay, so that was quick and easy. Actually, it took a little more time because I put it the wrong way. There is a head and there's a foot part. And there you can see it's tucked right underneath the tarp. I'll quickly show you. I'll probably show you when I don't have the tarp on. But here's a view of it. And there's the window where you can pull back the inner sleeve and then you can get a view outside. But as you can see, it does have fabric, and it can handle rain and wind, and it gives you a full cover. If it didn't seem like there was much rain before, now it's really coming down. I guess I had to make up the 25 mils somewhere. Almost makes me wish now that I set up closer, deeper in the forest to get a little bit more of the wind block. It is windy. Oh well. Bad decision. Okay, so it hasn't really let down. In fact, it's gotten stronger. There's lightning and thunder now, and it's just coming down in sheets. It still comes in waves. Sometimes there's a little less, but other times it's just so much rain. I just lose the shoreline, the opposite shoreline. It just blends into the rain and it disappears. Wow. I was starting to wonder whether we were going to get those 25 mils. I think my question is answered now. We're going to probably get that at this rate and more if it continues like this. The rain has finally stopped. Not to say that it won't continue later on, but for now, it's still, and actually got a little bit brighter. So while this was going on, when it started to peter down, I didn't want to just sit down underneath the tarp. So seeing that I'm in a dry suit, it's not like I'm going to get wet. So what I did was, check this out. I went to look for some rocks, and I found myself some nice rocks. I made myself a fire pit. Now, I was gonna originally have the fire right over there where the rock is, the corner of the tarps there. So if I had the fire there, it would have taken the brunt of the water pouring down from the tarp. So I decided to do it here once I found big enough rocks to act as a permanent insulation from the ground. Initially, I was putting it together with small rocks, but then I found this large piece and it was like perfect. So this will be a nice little fire pit that I can warm up underneath the tarp and still be dry. I also found this. This is where I'll put my stove, my jet boil, so I can cook while still having a nice fire here. Still not really that hungry, but there's really nothing much to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten the guy lines to the tarp to make the tarp a little more taut, because it's a lot of times when the fabric gets wet, it tends to loosen up, and so it's stretched and it's kind of saggy right now, as you can see behind me. So I'm going to tighten that up, and I think what I'll do is I'll try to gather some wood. I noticed there's some birch bark over there, and I'll try to get a little fire started. But before I do that, I got to get out of my dry suit so I don't jeopardize putting a hole in it. Okay. I was hoping it was going to stop raining. It did for a bit, but you can see it's starting up again. I'm just trying to clean up and finish up here, but the wind's picked up and it's getting cold, and it's like the wind is really starting to howl. Like I'm getting wet because the rain is just going sideways. And the worrisome thing is that some of the people had said that there's tornado warnings, and that's not good. All right, we are off.